Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. And today we're just going to have an open, random discussion about immersion in tabletop role playing games and what does immersion even mean. For those who maybe find this channel and want to discover, like, what is that word that's in the community that we often use a lot? And this subject comes up with a conversation I had with someone who mentioned something about immersion, and a very small part of our conversation. And I was like, why don't we just have a conversation about it? So while you grab your snacks and put your feet up and listen in or join in, uh, let's think about the things that both help keep or create immersion into tabletop role playing games. And we're going to use that word a lot. And then what are some things that break immersion to you? And uh, uh, throughout your tabletop role playing history, and I'll give you some of mine, what are some of those things that have really helped, don't matter anymore, all those things, like all those combinations. So guys, thank you very much, and let's get into it. And why is my I'm also behind the scenes going to figure out why my chats aren't showing up. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's do the intro. Yeah, here we go again. Okay, come on, chat window, show up. Why aren't we showing up? Come on. Okay, let's put in some random comment. And I am uncertain. All right, hopefully this will change because you guys you are the guys that bring the heat. All right, so I have to give credit to the individual who responded and talked about immersion breaking and an event that happened thereof. Let's give credit where credit is due. So immersion. So we need a definition for it, especially in our tabletop role playing community. And let's view this. Come on, where's the comment? How did the comment disappear? This is some bullshit. Are we serious? All right, all right. Okay. Because apparently I apologize because I really want to give credit where credit is due, and it's not. Yes, I want the comments here. Can we please get the comments? Oh well. I apologize for the individual comments over I went to the it's telling me it's not even there, and I swear I read it. All right. Let's get it. I guess that's the thing. So I apologize to the individual who brought up this comment. And so let's get a little bit of history first. The other day, I mentioned a role playing game. It's called ICRPG by Runehammer. And in ICRPG, he has this is before he designed Crown and Skull. That during the design of ICRPG, he wanted to simplify our ability to delve into the tabletop role playing game. It is very OSR uh, um, adjacent because this rules are stripped down. And one of the things he came up with was a room difficulty. So in many tabletop role playing games, and of course fifth edition, which it is a huge hack of. Well, it almost isn't fifth edition. Um, uh, Instead of having different levels of difficulty, he had a room difficulty where whatever scene is happening, there's a number that everybody knows, and they know what the number is, and they can roll their dice and overcome that number with very very simple modifiers to it. And the comment was made that that breaks immersion, because why would a character, why, as we're playing game, why would we know that difficulty? Why would it be above board? Now, I'll say back in my history, I don't know, this is probably over 20 years ago. I remember my group of friends, we went to a game at like a library or something like that, and it was the first time there was a person running a game, and it was the first time I've ever seen someone go like, "Hey, you're fighting monsters or whatever," and literally threw the monsters on the table, like had copies and pictures and things like that, and the stats and all that kind of stuff, and just was like, "Oh no, these are the monsters. These are all the numbers. These are all the damage they do." And grab some dice, guys. We're going to move things on a map, and blah. And we were just like, "Aren't you supposed to hide that behind a DM screen?" And he was just like, "I don't care." I mean, we all know what we're playing. And so, as defining immersion, and I'm going to describe a holy grail, a mecca of immersion that happens in tabletop role playing games that I feel like we are consciously or subconsciously searching for. So, immersion is the idea that we're sitting down to play a fictionalized, um, mentally generated, communal, cooperative event in our head, whether we think of it like a movie or a novel or anime or whatever, and we are all collectively in this fictional place. And the holy grail of immersion is when the imagination of what's taking place isn't happening to something else. We're not making a movie, we're not writing a play, but we think about it and relive the experience as if it was us. And the memories of that event happen as as uh, takes place in our neurological pathways, not as an outside event, but that I was hanging off the cliff, that I ducked under the table to watch out for the club from the ogre-sized guard that was about to hit me with a club. It was me that picked the lock. It was my hands that laid down on my allies and saved their lives. It was my eyes that looked up on the cliffside and saw the army of archers as we ran for it, and it was us that fought in the dark as the hail of arrows flew overhead or something like that. Not an imaginary character, not a paragraph in a novel, not a graphic novel that I turned, but it was me. And I think um, sometimes there are elements in different types of game or gaming styles that can draw us closer to that event or away from that event. And I think sometimes it's unconsciously desired. Now, there are a lot of games that are literally designed around this immersive, the element of immersion, that can't, on the outside, looks like it's a cheap trick, a dumb, like, oh, they're just playing illusion games, like a Las Vegas hand eye magician or something like that. And examples of these games would be Dread. Dread is played with a Jenga tower. Do I have one up here somewhere? It would take me too long to pull one down. The stacking blocks, and it uses literally a stacking block Jenga tower as its adjudicator to elicit panic in us with this tower for a horror game. There's a game of Lost called 10 Candles, where literally everyone is to bring 10 candles, and when you perform certain actions, you blow out the candles, and the candles represent your life, and you're supposed to play it in the dark. And as the last candle goes out, that's when the last story is told. That is an immersive thing. There's an old game called um, Deadlands, and I believe another one called Boot Hill. Can't remember exactly which one, but it uses a playing card gambling. Do I have a card? it uses playing cards and as its adjudicator, and it's supposed to immerse you in the idea of the Wild West and the lone gunman and playing and gambling at the table. So it uses playing cards as its adjudicator. Um, Sometimes we have music that's involved, uh, things of that nature. Sometimes the words that are used in the game, the you know it, someone might argue that why don't they just call it classes? Why don't they call it difficulty things? And instead, the game uses terminology to get everyone on the same language to immerse you. Mike says to help immersion. Let's see if this will overlay. Please come up. Yeah, there it goes. Yeah. To help immersion, I stand when GMing. Body language is a big part of communication, so it helps. I'll walk around the table to interact with players. If a voice comes from behind a player, I'll stand behind that player. You know what? Um, I got nervous. I have a constant nervous leg when I'm sitting here broadcasting because part of me wants to stand up doing the same thing, and it's not as conscious as you stated, but I am the same way. I'm a person who doesn't mind people standing up, walking around, like you said, speaking really softly behind someone's ear, or like as players, we used to do dumb things like your character can't speak the language, and so they'll do the proverbial marbles in the mouth kind of thing, or oh, my character's unconscious or something, and then somebody will grab a blanket and like throw it over their own head to be like, well, I can't see what's going on, and little dumb, silly things, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, I'll roll any dice openly so they have real time exposure of repercussions. I'm the same way. I remember I talked about the other day about like um oh, where's my dice? Oh, here it is. Yeah, rolling dice, but not letting anyone see what's happening. I mean, and this could be hand this around the table, give it to the players, and deciding what we want to do, rolling the dice, right, and then turn it over, whatever, and then everyone kind of do the slow reveal of like, what did you roll, and seeing if it matches up to the expectation of the player and things like that. Yeah, yeah. I might use room lighting, music, other tools, and I get it from the outside if you've never been exposed to that. Mind you, this is all subjective, right? There are some people who say, well, doing that is dumb. I mean, it's like it's it it sounds like a cheap trick, but I love like right now you can hear like sound like animal sounds and like a little immersive thing. I'm doing it because of I can remember using my voice in a Doppler effect way to place players at unease. Ooh, sound changers. I've never used at the table a voice changer, but I think it would be kind of cool getting one of those ones where you got like 10 different options where you can do like an alien voice or like the super deep bass in the voice and whatnot. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are immersive, and I think one of the uh, in current season in our tabletop experience, rolling for initiative seems to be a thing that's happening now. That's a seasonal thing that's come back about how to adjust initiative and player actions and whatnot because uh, game masters tend to want to keep the flow going, and initiative in a way maybe tells our brains to full stop one thing to enter into another part of the game, and many of us game masters don't want that. We want the flow to keep going and to naturally flow. And yes, do we roll dice? Of course. And I think one of the comments in this, mind you, about this immersion keeping, immersion breaking thing, one, and I'm not criticizing the individual that brought this up because I think it depends on which person is involved in the game. Um, oh, that Doppler effect was done without tools. It's just the voice. Okay, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. There's even a role playing game called the Terrible uh, TTRPG where did Spider-Man fall? Okay. In the Terrible RPG, it's literally written on a piece of paper, and you tear off pieces of your character sheet to perform certain actions. And there is an idea of like loss, like in order to accomplish something, you have to lose a little bit. And in terms of, and I'm gonna, this is a little side note to immersion, and I'm going to bring this up because this individual who responded, I believe it was Yuri, but for some reason it won't let me get the comment, which is very strange. Uh, there is a like part of tabletop role playing game where, in role playing games, where if the player knows something that for some reason um, it breaks like the mystery of the thing. And I found that I found that sometimes the juice isn't worth the squeeze, right? So what I mean by that is like much like many years ago, um, excuse me, much like many years ago, my friends and I went to this library, and this guy was a he was older than us. We were like maybe 12, and a guy that was older than us was I don't know, 16 or something like that. I mean, it felt like he was like an ancient, but he wasn't. But I guess the point was like that he said uh, generally was like, who cares that we know what the hit points are? We know we're playing a game. Maybe it's just better for you to know what you need to do to so we can move past this thing to keep moving forward, right? And I think that's where I see RPG and I'm picking on that game, but there's other games where letting the players know how fast the monster is, what the monster can do, what are the difficulty scores. A lot of indie games now are not indie. New designers are saying like, why bother with rolling to hit and then roll damage? Why don't we just roll the damage and get to the point? Because we want to get past the boring parts. And I think that the embrace of that is like, no, this is, we are embracing the fact that this doesn't make sense, but we're embracing it because we want to engage in more parts of the game so that we're only interested in the interesting features. And while the simulationist in our minds goes, well, we should miss a few times. The end result of missing in a game is like, well, you waited to do something, and guess what? Nothing happened. You missed. Moving on, you know what I mean? Like it's like, well, how about we just move past that part? Um, and I find that like I used to be the person who was like, la la la, don't tell me the hit points, la la la. My character wouldn't know that, but maybe my character would know these things. Maybe my character is so good. Like I'm not the professional, but my character is. Maybe my character would know. Like to shoot that guy in the face with an arrow is probably pretty damn difficult. Now, as a player, I know I need to roll 18 or more, but would the character probably know that? Yeah. Would the character know how many hit points they have left? Well, I think we know how exhausted we are or how injured we are. Looking over our shoulder and seeing our ally, take a punch to the gut and a sword slash to the arm and get knocked over the head with a brick or something, and we're just like, oh, I think they just went down. I mean, do we know they went to 0 hit points? The numerical value? No. But would the context then translate? Does our ability to see those numbers translate into the life of the character? I think so. And that's just a little side note on immersion as well. But there's lots of things about immersion, like marking off equipment or um, knowing that the game has a rule, and then our character acts in conjunction with a rule in a book, not with the meta knowledge, not with the events that are happening in front of their face. Mike says, and as a premise to the next tool, consent is important, but I might have an NPC touch a player's shoulder or arm as part of RP, a character who's alone in a dark room who feels something touch their shoulder from behind gets an immediate response. Yeah, yeah, I like that. Oh man, I remember. I remember a how do I explain it? There was a kid's toy where there was a box and it was a cube and you would reach your hand into the box and feel different things. And I remember someone had that kid's toy to explain in the dark what they feel when something rubs against their leg and they reach into the box. And like in the box was it was like shag carpet for fur. There was like scales. There was something like a rubbery or moist kind of feeling. It was all a bunch of things, like something prickly, and you didn't know what it was. You had to close your eyes and put your hand in the box, and then you would feel something. And I was like, "That's really cool." Oh man. A big part of immersion is referring to the players by their characters' names too. While they're at the table, they should feel like someone else. I think various people feel differently about that. I used to be a hardliner. I don't mind. And okay, let me define this. Some players use the word I, me, I am Gregor the Angry or whatever. And Gregor, I start describing things like I am Gregor. I speak to the guard. I pick up a brick and hit the person over the head. I punch them in the throat. I dive to the side to avoid the fireball, right? Whereas others will say, Gregor is doing this thing. Gregor the Angry is going to get real angry and pull the bars and bend the bars of our captor or something like that. Um, and I don't really have a problem with someone saying, "No, my character does this thing. No, my character is going to do this thing." I don't. I used to be a little bit hardliner. Now, some people what will in game tables will say, use your character's name to describe what your character's doing, and use your own name and your own self to be like for example, my um yeah my character might be doing something, but as a player, I'm just like I'm going to say something like my character goes up to your character, and this guy's like angry and like frothing at the mouth, and I've got my fists up, and then I will say, as a player, I'll say, "Hey, guy, listen, my character's angry, but I'm not really going to do anything. But I'm like coming up to your character threateningly or something like that, and then can go, oh, okay, I get it. As a player, I'm not angry at all, but my character is angry at your character, not me as a player angry at the other player or something like that." Spook says, "I fully acknowledge when the party has figured out DCs. Anyone who's paying attention will notice a 15 hits and a 14 misses. Yeah. As to hit points, I tend to adjust those on the fly depending on how much fun the party's having. I don't know. I don't like adjusting. This is just a personal thing, and I don't have a like an ethical or moral problem with it, but I never adjust numbers behind the screen. Like once in the players don't even know it. Like if I give a monster 50 hit points, it has 50 hit points. I don't really care what's happening after that. What I'll then do is adjust the next encounter if I feel like things need to go up or down. But the minute it happens, nah, I don't add or subtract extra hit points. Now what I'll do is if I think it's boring and the monster's got 3 hit points left and I'm just like, this is a slog, like I'll role play that part out. Like the monster cowers away, or they parlay, they give up, or they throw their weapons down and run in fear, or things like that. Um, Clarification. Mike says, I call them by a character's name. How they refer to themselves or each other is their call. Yes, as a game master. Yeah. As a dungeon master too. That's another immersive division, right? Like I'll call Mike if I'm speaking to Mike, but if Mike's playing, um, I don't know, a character named Davian, and Davian is doing something, I will refer to Davian the character as this is what's happening, or this is what the NPC is saying to them, or this is the damage you're suffering. Yeah, I get it. yeah. To separate the two. Yeah. In a weird way, not weird, in a way, because we're playing tabletop role playing games, sometimes we don't want to be as immersed. I remember as a very emotional kid and having a bunch of emotional friends that we would take things a little bit too personally in our tabletop role playing games. And I've told this story before. Um, my brother. He was a foster brother, but anyway, he was my best friend. Became my foster brother. It's a whole big thing. But I actually had the bone next to my orbital socket broken because he punched me in the eye because of something that happened in a tabletop role playing game. So, and it was literally a table flipping moment. He literally flipped the table and reached across and got me in the eye. It was a whole big family thing and whatnot, and violence and all the whole thing at the time. Looking back at it, it was just like we were just dumb and emotional. But I had a literal physical violence against me by adjudicating something like, no, your character died for doing this thing that was very dumb. And then it was just like table flip, oh, pow. And that was immersive, if nothing else. But yeah, we can get, for people who are improv actors and do actual plays, many times it is their, not just their hobby, but their calling, their job really, to allow their emotional immersion in the game rise to a level so that when something happens, they will cry, they will feel distraught, they will feel in danger, their heart rate will go up, their voice will crack because of these strong emotions, and so yeah, sometimes that's desire. Other times it might be, yeah, right, yeah. This happened a long time ago. It's long since passed. As a matter of fact, to this day, which we've lost contact, I still think to this day he's still distraught about what he did to me. Oh yeah, it was a whole thing. Spook says, I generally don't care what tense or name the players use, but as a GM, I'll use character name for game context and real name for other stuff. Yeah, I guess I'm the same way too, especially when it's like you're trying to, as the game master, you want to let the player know, like, listen, this is what's happening in the game, but I'm also aware what's happening outside the game. Mike says, I'll adjust hit points on the fly as well, especially if a player has been having a rough go in the game and they drop a foe to under 10 hit points. I'll give them the win. Yeah, I guess I'm the same way. The scene is more important than the numbers. I agree. I guess we're the same same target, different description of how to get there. Yeah, I don't necessarily. I'm not necessarily a person that's like, oh, you literally have to get the monster to 0 hit points or you've lost. Nah, I've had monsters literally like just yeah. Here we go. I'll take it from you. All right. I'll literally have monsters just hang around and be like, like, no, don't kill me, or something like that, or like cower or fall unconscious or something like that. Yeah, I'm the same. I guess I'm the same way. Um, I think there are other things that, like the juice versus the squeeze kind of thing when it comes to games, especially when it's about like adding modifiers or talking about the numerical parts of the role playing games, where especially if the game isn't designed to let players know something, I think us game masters will default to just being upfront with the thing. Like, for example, we tend to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and F20 D20 games where hit points and armor class aren't very descriptive of what's happening. So instead of us trying to hem and haw and guess and go back and forth and trying to figure it out, it's like, dude, the monster had 50 hit points. They're down to 7, right? Like, we could keep describing, well, are they about to go out? Are we winning? Well, there's an arrow sticking out of its chest, and then there's a sword slash across its back, but you don't know, but it's still climbing toward you. And then after a while, sometimes we're just like, listen, note card right in front of them. Here are the 3 orcs, right, or the three ogres or something. This one's down. They all had 50. This one's down to 7. That one's down to 12. That one's blind. You guys figure it out. I don't care. and I think sometimes it's the simplicity of it. It's like, let's break the immersion, the realism of the event, because we really need to move on from this point in the game, whatever that thing is, right? Um, or sometimes players will flounder because we game masters, we know all the things that are happening. We all know all the numbers, we know all the difficulties, we know we know what the next three encounters might be, and sometimes the players will start to tread water because they're delving into analysis paralysis, or they are focusing on a red herring, or and I think that's what that's about. Pete John says fudging can break immersion. It can be felt by the players most of the time. That depends. Some game masters are really good at creating the illusion, and some players don't want to, like watching a magic trick. Sometimes we don't want to know how it's done. We want to be impressed. We are a willing participant. It's not a lie. It's it is it is embracing the entertainment value of what's going on. It's watching the old classic David Blaine close up magic and being amazed by it, while simultaneously the back of our brain is like, I wonder how he did it. But during the moment, we don't want to know how it's done. We want to be impressed. And I think there's other things to do other than fudging. Like because we as game masters, and this is one of the illusion breaking things that some players don't want to know, is the numbers don't matter to game masters. We can always change, improve, add more, subtract some. I mean, that's the ultimate power of any game master in any game for any reason ever. There is no Game masters are not beholden to any balance. We can have more monsters show up. We can have the monsters run away. We can do like now for me, my fudging is role playing, right? Like if the combat is dragging on, then I would just have my monsters role play what the heck is going on in the world, right? Oh, we're probably going to die because the heroes are badasses. We're going to run away. We're going to hide. We're going to beg for our lives or something like that. Let's not keep like I'm not going to be like, oh, all the ogres are now have 35 hit points. I'm like, well, why not just have them give up? That's kind of me. Pete Giant goes on to say most of the time when mechanics are talked about, the immersion of the game pauses. But here's my argument with that, and I don't mean that that's not a true feeling, but we've all agreed to sit down to play a game where we roll math rocks, right? Like there's nothing immersive by rolling math rocks, right? That this has no relationship to I cast a spell, I jump off flip across the table and swing on the chandelier. But yeah, it's very strange how sometimes I think we as players of these games latch onto a thing and say that's the thing that breaks immersion, whereas all the similar things around it don't. And it's like rolling initiative doesn't break immersion, but me rolling a number to beat another number does, right? It's like, well, people don't fight in initiative order. Like human beings, having had practiced martial arts for quite a number of years, there is no you take your turn, I take my turn. That never happens. People take advantage and get hit, and one person gets hit more than the other, and then you get distracted and you don't know what you're doing, and then you lose your breath, and then the other person, and then, yeah, no one has any, especially when you're in it, no one has any idea how long something took. Um, yeah, having participated in the Arnold, it's like time goes away. You just don't know. And it's over in like 30 seconds, and you're just like, that took like 15 minutes. Like, no, it didn't. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah, Pete John says, I mean, over time, if that is the modus operandi, it will be felt. Especially if um, it's being fudged in favor of the players, and most game masters actually do that. I think the idea of the killer GM is a bit of a it's like an urban legend. Now there are some games that are very lethal, but the GM that just wants to kill the players is kind of ridiculous because most GMs need players. Otherwise, you won't have anybody to play your game with. So that, so fudging it so that the players succeed all the time. I think it can be felt. It's like, but I did a critical failure. Well, you still killed the monster, and it's like, uh, you know, we did decide to play this game. I don't know. Pete Giant says, I roll in the open. See, me too. I roll in the open so players can see, and therefore the losses, wins are genuine, each to their own, though. Yeah, me too. I roll out. The whole hiding behind the GM screen thing. Nah. Now, like I said, there is the proverbial roll the dice and no one knows what happened. Um, or like this is dice tray, by the way, little snappable dice tray. But like, yeah, the rolling of the dice in the open and or covering it up and like, oh, I can't believe you did that and stuff. I feel like the breaking of immersion in that regard, like rolling out in the open, letting people know what the numbers are, is the break, the acceptable break to allow other things to become more immersive. Yeah. Yep, Mike says, yeah, immersion is a lie we all agree to believe. How we get there changes from person to person. I definitely agree. And mind you, like, for example, like you can hear like the nature sounds in the background as we're talking and things like that. Some people don't like that at all, like music or nature sounds or like I mentioned before, like there's a game. Oh, I do have them here. There's a game called Everway, and it was one of the first diceless tabletop role playing games um, that had a big push back in 1995, and then the Silver Edition 25 years later came out. But there's a box of cards, there's a box of these tarot cards, and why I say this is immersive for these cards is that the tarot cards exist in the world, and you could go to an oracle to have your character's future read so that you're holding the tarot cards. This is another deck of tarot cards, um, not related to a role playing game. And then here's another deck of tarot cards that is related to a role playing game called the Hidden Isles. But yeah, these cards exist in the world to immerse the players, to kind of give them a hint as to what might happen in the future, and now the player kind of knows the meta of the events that might happen in the future. It's like a storytelling element, but they are part of it and stuff. Yep, sure is. Yeah, it's me. Been here, done that, right? Man, hey, what's going on? Mike says the descriptions need to be plausible. That's the hitch. If your descriptions seem valid, believable, and key into the views of the table, the lie becomes more believable. Exactly. And I think sometimes maybe we consider these a little bit more hot takes, where the community is describing the same events with different words. So some might say it's a lie, others are going, no, it's the fantasy, right? And so one might be viewed as acceptable because we are all living the same fantasy, the same illusion, and then others look at it like a lie. You are convincing me of a thing that I don't want to be convinced of. And so I believe immersion also is a thing that it is a choice we make in the game, instead of like someone sitting back passively and going, you need to convince me. No, it's a collaborative thing. Hey, we are all agreeing to this. Please be a willing subject to it, much like the classic uh, hypnotism, where people get up on stage and they are hypnotized to be a chicken. It's like, well, you kind of want willing participants to be part of that, to act ridiculous and whatnot, that kind of thing. Pete Jai says, one thing that commonly harms immersion is referring to what players feel, see, smell, using the word you. That takes away agency. Um, yes, somewhat, because here's the weird thing. We you want to, what's the term? not a picture's worth 1,000 words, which is actually true, but it's difficult for us game masters to get across a feeling if the player just refuses to feel that feeling in the first place, right? So what I mean is, some players despise games like Call of Cthulhu or horror games in general because they just don't want to play a game where they're scared. Whereas other people are who play those games that have fear and sanity and dread in them desire to have that feeling and immerse themselves in any way to get into that feeling. And some players are just like, "Though this game sucks," and maybe it's not because the game sucks. Maybe it's just because they have in their head, I don't ever want to be scared, and I don't want my player to be scared, my character to be scared, and this thing that's down in the deep dark basement with the blood trail and something scurrying in the shadows, I'm not scared, so therefore this game isn't scary. Well, if you're choosing not to be scared, then it breaks the immersion, right? Is that the game master's fault, or what do they call it? A warden? I think it's a warden or keeper. Keeper. A lot of that is are we making an agreement to feel this way? So while yes, I guess I fall in the middle with what Pete John is saying about telling a player what they feel, because I mean, how do I tell you you smell something unless I say you smell the thing, right? It's difficult to say, like, I mean, now what I usually do is go like it's like a blanket. There's a sense that's coming over you. Now you as a player get to decide how you feel. But yeah, it's like you go into the basement and there's a sense of dread, and then you as a player can go, yeah, but my character isn't scared. And I go, oh, okay, well, that's all right. That you're deciding to do that. So I guess I don't know. It's a very weird thing because you can't. We are collectively the difficulty of a game master's job is you want to set the scene, but you have no way of controlling the player's outlook. So as a game master, I might want my players to feel a certain way, but there's no way I can make them feel that way. And then the player on their side has to decide, do I feel the synergy of my game master and go, all right, I'm going to delve into this, or do I want to set my feet down and go, no, I'm never going to feel this way, and choosing to make that choice, and sometimes it can vary, and mind you, this can vary moment to moment. So at some points you could say, well, no, because the way my character is designed, they're they're courageous, and another person's like, no, I think in this moment I probably would be scared, not concerning the dice at all, and this is a non-dice rolling event. I don't know, it's really back and forth. Yeah, Mike says, not sure I agree. You is a common pronoun. Removing it would make you sound like a caveman. uh, Rickard, hey, what's going on there? It's been a little while. Says, I'm a proponent of the DM and even other players making a break immersion and checking in so that players have forgotten information that was 5 minutes ago for characters. We do. I've done that plenty of times where I'm like, wait, what? Who's the character's name again? Yeah, the proverbial, oh, by the way, your character knows this thing, right? We As game masters, we do that a lot. I don't have a problem with that at all. I don't have a problem with a player reminding another player, like, oh, by the way, your 18 intelligence character, on a scale of 3 to 18 would know this thing. And the player goes, oh, damn, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and Mike goes at this from another angle where he says, like, yeah, Mike sees, Mike feels, Mike, etc. If the player is in the zone, then referring to them as you has no effect. Drew, an avid member of this channel, doesn't feel that way. Like, I think has a like an ethical thing about not feeling like the character or something. But I dare say, like I mentioned at the top, that one of the pinnacles of being immersed is that at the moment, and that our memories convert everything happening with dice and cards and character sheets and minis or whatever, converts into a real memory in our brains as if we were there. And I think sometimes we're maybe hunting for it, but unconsciously. And so that when something happens that takes, as we start climbing towards that peak, anything that takes us away from that zenith is like, oh, damn it, why did you say or do that thing? Oh, man. And it may not even realize it. So, yeah, Rickard says if we're talking feelings, I would say that it's not the you that takes away from the immersion, but the feelings, unless magic is involved. It's true. Yeah, Pete Giant says describe the scene, allow the players to put themselves there. For smells, etc., the air ahead is full of smoke. You smell versus you smell smoke up ahead. I don't know. I mean, for yourself, I can see how that would bother you. For some, I think it's just semantics, right? Like the you is the character, not you the player. And I mean, unless we start lighting fires in real life, it would be difficult to describe a thing unless we say, hey, this is the thing that's happening. And how do you describe something that's happening inside of a person if you're the game master trying to give it to the player, right? So it can be language. I think the language dodging can become more complicated than a little bit. So as game masters are like, listen, we got 4 people at the table. I really don't have time to like do language acrobatics. Damn it, you smell the smoke. Right? At a certain point, it's like, well, sure, but we have a group of people and all those people need to be involved in the thing. Yes, kitties. Leave Spider-Man alone. And I appreciate it. Pete appreciates it. Oh, so Philly. Oh, man. A player who refuses to let their character lose in any way, say by feeling scared or hurt or are actively breaking immersion, even edgelords cry, buddy, calm down. Yeah. I've played with people like that where it's just like, it's like, they, if there's anything other than winning, they just jump out the game. And it's like, nah, you decided to play a game where you could die. The idea of the idea of like always winning, then it's like, why bother playing the game? In my opinion, it's where I hear things like in role playing games where they're just like, well, it sucks if your character gets, I don't know, paralyzed or mind controlled or whatever, dies or something like that. And I'm thinking, well, didn't we all just agree to play this game? Rickard says using quote insert character's name here sees X would take me out of the immersion as it creates a separation between me and the character in a role-playing situation. See, here we come. Here's someone who comes at the opposite, where we're describing the separation of you as a person versus the character sees or feels or creates or whatever. So, yeah, I think it just depends on the player. And every person has their own dial, I guess. Pete Giant says, what's your opinion on immersion if the player is picturing the character in third person versus first person? And you guys can answer that as well. And for anybody that even finds this video this far in. Over the years, I've come to the point where I literally have zero problem about first person versus third person. Some people are just more comfortable completely separating themselves from their character. So they will say, my character does this thing. My character speaks to the guard. My character, or let me come up with that name, Davian. Davian picks the lock. Davian walks up to the guard and says, hey, Davian fiddles with some coin and has some coin in his hand. The town guard, why don't you guys take a break or something, right? And then and whatever. I don't really have a problem with first person. Like, I don't have a hard rule. I would rather players be comfortable rather than say, when you speak in character, you must speak like I go up to the guard and I have the coins and I grab his hand and shake his hand, depositing the coins in the palm. I don't. That's me personally. Now, for others out there, they may have a different story. Again, talking about the conscious or unconscious goal of reaching to that high point where we the emotional the immersive the immersive goal is to get the memory stuck in our brains as if it was us, and that some of us are doing it unconsciously, and the game might be just that good, right? I mean, let's not forget that despite what we're deciding, first person versus third person, sometimes we get that tunnel vision and we get in the zone, and the others around the table may not realize that we are zone entering, and we get upset and despondent when we didn't even realize we're getting into that zen nature, and then something happens and it breaks us out of it and we go, fuck, what the hell just happened, right? And we get upset, and not realizing that, oh man, I was getting in the zone, I was feeling like my character, and not being able to realize that. And I think improv artists have the double brain about that. They know they're playing a game. They know that they're not the character, but at the same time, they also have the skill to bring their emotions forward and go, when my character or another player character dies or gets captured, or their loved one shows up, that the tears come because they have the ability to allow their emotional state to rise to the top while simultaneously going like, no, I'm playing a game. This is all fictional, but I can enter into a mind state to make this very real, make the emotions very real. Matter of fact, actors that's their skill, right? The skill is, yeah, I'm saying words that someone else wrote down, but I'm going to embody this person. Hoy says, I think it's one of the more hilarious parts of RPGs if the wizard doesn't know a thing but the barbarian. Oh, talking about how sometimes in games we're just like, yeah, my character physically is is the badass, but when my character is supposed to be more intelligent than myself, all of a sudden like we have a problem with that. Like, yeah, no, yeah, I get it. I get you there, Hoy. I think I do. Drew says, I prefer third person since I think one can better express character and make them more immersive for the whole table. See, and here we go with the first person versus third person, the externalization of the actions of someone. It's much like myself. Like, I love watching very good television and movies that are well written and well described, while at the same time being ignoring all of that and falling into what's happening on the screen without judging it from a director's point of view. Rickard says, I would say follow the player. If I use, all right, let's see if I can get this correct, because I hate butchering what you guys are trying to tell me. So he says, I would say follow the player. If I walk over and talk to NPC, use you. If I say my character, insert character name, walks over and talks to NPC name, use the character name. Yeah. Me too. Synergistically, yeah. Whatever the player wants, I'm like, cool. I tend to follow in suit. And then, of course, clarification is a good thing too, right? Like, I might say, again, with this situation where the barbarian, angry, Gregor the Angry gets mad at another player character, and it's like, I step back and go, my character is mad at your character, but me as a player, I'm just going along with it, right? Yeah, Drew says, but also third person allows for more tragic stories since the things happen to the characters are not things that happen to the player. Well, I don't disagree. My only part in that is there are some people who want to feel the feelings of what's happening to their character, i.e., making it first person, right? So, even in tragic stories, like there's a bunch of TTRPGs I have right now that are designed like Dread, like 10 Candles, like what's it called? The Tale of Not, or the Story of Not, where you're playing a homeless person. There's another one that it takes place during a nuclear holocaust, and you're playing a character that eventually will die off. And it's like some people want games where they feel like they want that feeling. They want to feel the tragic story of their character, so they do it in person to draw up those emotional things. And there's a lot of players who are like, hell no, I don't want to feel like what my character feels. I'm just having fun. Beer and pretzels. Yeah, immersion is a shared responsibility. So how a character is seen by the player is up to them. How they view their chapter should not affect immersion. If it does, then it's up to them to change, I guess. And of course, mind you, some of this can be a little bit, what's it called, navel gazing, where are you in understanding that you're playing a game with other people, because there can be a little bit of a selfishness and arrogance in there, where um, one player is feeling intense emotion that the other player doesn't really want to feel, and you feeling your intense immersion, emotional immersion, is breaking someone else's mind state. Let's say P. John says, "You is a charged word, and it is hard to separate when heard that is meant for the character, not the player." Um, Again, and I think that's a personal choice, right? Some people want to be in the room filled with smoke. Others are like, no, my character's there, but I never want to be scared, but my character is. And I think this is a personal choice. And sometimes it's difficult for other people to understand that other people are different than you, which I think happens in. Funny that the tabletop role playing community is literally, we design games for interaction with people who have difficulty having social interactions. I think there's an irony in there. Spook says, I just assume my players know some of the human basics like smoke, mold, dust, etc., and I'll use those. I really don't have time to run the game and check to make sure everyone is okay with description. Yeah, it could be when you're a single. That's a fallacy, I think, in tabletop games, that the game master is the sole person responsible for everyone else's mind state, where everyone, including the specific individual, is supposed to be responsible for themselves, right? I think we give too much responsibility onto game masters to be oh, I also have to be a psychologist, and I also have to it's like, no, maybe other players and yourself should be like, you know what, maybe let me take a step back before this gets a little bit too intense or whatever. Mike says, Pete, I think you're overthinking a pronouns application. Language is a shared experience too, and its interpretation can be varied. Putting too much emphasis on a word like "you" is a minefield. Yeah, I think Pete is just uh is expressing a thing that maybe some of us are looking for in our games, and if we aren't, again, session zero, which can technically session zero can happen anytime. Some people are looking for a thing that maybe other people are not. And if you're a beer and pretzels person, like, I guess I'm not exactly that, but I don't take it. I don't take these games too seriously. And other people are like looking for that holy grail. They're looking for that, like, I want to have that emotional stakes and whatnot. And being up front with that, with ourselves first, and then everyone else, I think is necessary. Some people think of the game like a board game versus fiction first. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I think Pete's pointing out a point that there are a lot of people who look at the game like it's pretty intense. And some games are designed to get you into a state of emotional intensity that other players are not expecting. Yep. Drew says film scripts are also written in third person. Sure, they're written that way, but you would hope that they're not expressed that way, right? All right, Kitty. All right. I know. I know. I know. You want to fall asleep and now you don't know what to do. Hallie says I had a nervous breakdown because I could not differentiate between me. So it's healthy to have a clear distance. Um, I, First of all, I agree with you, and recognizing that now here's the deal: like role playing games are escapism. It, I mean, literally, role playing games are games we play that are tools used by professionals to help people deal with their psychological conditions, and so in a weird kind of way, we are playing with a very um, we are playing games with a very intense I'll say tool used to literally help people overcome psychological issues. And maybe we need to acknowledge that fact that despite the beer and pretzels of some of these games, that there are others who are actually seeking a certain thing unconsciously. And that's why I think we should know ourselves first. But I agree with you there, Hoy. Drew says, in my experience, people using third person to describe their character's actions are usually the better role players. There's a reason why third person is also more prominent in novels, and there are more used by the authors that know their craft. I would my only difference with that, Drew, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I would only say that there is a difference between, say, reading a film script, because you actually here's the other comment here. Um, if I'm not in a play and I read a script or whatever for my own edification, my own entertainment, that's cool. But if I'm a character in a play, I'm going, and I'm the professional, I want to immerse myself in that. If I'm going to play, I don't know, Romeo and Juliet or something, and I'm playing Romeo or Juliet, then it behooves me to become that person. So I will make everything first person as the person portraying that character. Everyone else reading it, it's third person, like reading a novel or something like that. Yeah, we're third person. We're over their shoulder. We're looking at them from a distance. But there are some novels where the literary aspect is no, I want you to be immersed in it, and then drawing that person in. And some people can read a book and go, man, I really feel what this person is going through because they internalize it. That's why many movies and television shows have a character that represents the audience, and the audience then can vicariously live through the storytelling process in that character. So that they understand what the hell's going on. It's also an info dumping person character, right? Where that character's like, what's going on? And they ask all the questions for the audience and things like that. But yeah, there's some people who really feel pulled into these things. Rickard says, hardest role playing conversation I had to do in a session was bringing the news to a mother that her son had died, because both I and the DM managed to tap into the feelings of the scene. And this is where the some people who are against safety tools um, don't understand that long past session 0, this might be session 18 in the game, something very much could have happened in that person's personal life, in which we should take a look at what happened, and therefore not um, cast aside the fact that maybe a safety tool is important to have. And maybe that person did have a death in the family and you didn't know that, or maybe they thought it wouldn't affect them and it really did affect them. And to have some respect for the emotional state that people go through. There's nothing more important in any game that we play than the humans involved in that game. Point blank. I don't care what the game is about. There's nothing more important than the humans. So yeah. Rickard says, going on, says part 2, and what made it hard was the fact that it wasn't an external character that conversation, but it was me wearing the persona of my character having that conversation. Yeah. Yep. Drew says, I want. Ooh, why did it disappear? There we go. Drew says, I want all the feeling as well, but close third person does that fine fine too. Okay. I really would recommend looking how books do that instead of assuming that first person is the only method that gets you there. Oh, I don't agree that it's the only way to get you there. Um, I I think sometimes I think there's an unconsciousness thing that some people fall into first person by accident, and also to understand, like maybe for example, I join your game and I know myself, it's easy for me to place myself in my character's shoes, but I'm playing with other people. So because I know that about myself, getting that distance, getting that third person might be better overall, less immersive for me, better experience for everyone, making it a better experience for the entire table, making it better for me. There's a little bit of a cycle there, but you get my point. I hope you do. Mike says, "Oh, okay, great topic, great, got a jet. Hey, man, no problem. Yeah, yeah. It depends on how and I don't want to make this sound terrible. It depends on the scale of how much selfishness I want and how much um um communal parity I want, and getting that balance right. Some players accidentally fall towards the more selfish part, getting really into it, where the other players are like, "What, dude? Relax," and it may be like, "Ooh, I fell into this thing that I didn't want to, or didn't realize it, or maybe something happened at work." And it's just like, yeah, I brought my work home with me, and now I'm taking it out on everybody else and stuff like that." So, yeah. Drew says role play is usually about ensemble narratives, and those are literature ways always third person. First person works only solo game. Everything else is just bad style. I disagree with you there, Drew. Um, I think the there are people who are um, have a natural ability to put themselves in other people's shoes, and role playing games allows them to experience that. I think it's also like amusement parking. So we know the roller coaster is not going to fall off the tracks, but we want to feel the adrenaline of feeling like that might happen. And so for some, I think role playing games, and maybe this is just a stateside thing, but I think there are a lot of people who are like, yeah, life is boring. I'm going to play a role playing game and see if I can get some excitement out of it and truly feel what my character would feel. I don't know now whether you think that's good or bad. That's personal, but I think there's some people who are actually looking for that. Pete Giant says, I found more success as a GM being careful about how you refer to characters. I did trial and error, and that was the conclusion I've come to now. And I bet that's probably also the people you've come in contact with there, Pete Giant. I don't think you're wrong. And I think that it depends on your ease at using those kind of tools. I mean, the responsibility, I think, is everyone's responsibility. Let's see. Drew says, "What do you mean expressed that way? Films are written that way, so they are expressed that way. Do you conflate third person with indirect speech? Those are two different things." I'm not. Let's see if I can break apart what you're saying. Um, a a storyteller may want to tell a story, and there are people who have personal experiences, and or may have never had that personal experience, and the story being told allows them to immerse themselves into it as if they are in that story. And some great storytellers um, design their stories to allow ease of that event happening. So it may not be a big separation. It may be, "Ooh, wow, I went through that too," and now it's eliciting something in my brain. That's what I mean about expressing something. Yes, the writer may have written it third person, but they've allowed like not a filter. They've allowed the ability for other people to very easily make um, go, what choice would I make in that situation when we watch that character make their decisions. Pete Giant says, it doesn't matter to me how players refer to themselves. People are varied in how they see uh, the game. Exactly, right. And it doesn't. For example, like for me, I don't care how you refer to yourself. That doesn't bother me at all. Yep. We're going to get out of here pretty soon. Drew says films usually focus on a single person that is like a solo play. Sure. Although there's some writers that are really, it's difficult to do this. There's some writers that make a really good ensemble, but yes, films usually focus on a single person that is like a solo play. But for role play, you have to remain aware that you play with others together. Exactly, and thus to express your character, especially since the others cannot see them, it's better done in third person. Right, and of course, making things we can all agree to be upfront and open. Right, like, hey, right, yeah, there you go. Don't be an egoist. You play expressive. Yeah, there's other people at the table. Remember that. Yep, exactly. So I think we're on the same page. Maybe we're coming at this. Maybe we're coming to our our pinnacle, our zenith from different angles of the mountain, but we're still trying to get there at the same time, right? Hey man, have a great one. Drew says, I think an immersive experience with the fiction as a whole can be more rewarding than just with one's own character. Maybe that we can do that tomorrow. Yeah. Because um, let's be honest, there are some people that immerse themselves in role playing games for the ego as part of it, whether they like to say that or not. Some people don't know themselves enough to know that their disappointment in the game is because there's other people in the game. If that's a weird thing to say, but yeah. They're playing with 5 other people, but really what they want to play is a solo game, but they're not doing that. So yeah. All right, Spook, hey, have a great one. Oh man. The literature analogy doesn't work because first person changing person isn't designed to do so, but around the table there is only one eye for each person around the table. I get what you're saying there, Rickard. Right. It's it's difficult. We're playing an ensemble of fiction trying to express ourselves as I. Right. Do you move or stage characters for players through descriptions? Hmm. Hmm. No. The difference between the writer or director looking at a script and the actors having to bring it to life. Some players want to be the actors bringing their character to life, not narrating their story. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then choosing and being able to choose which one, and then being able to embody both and step into either role not simultaneously, but to move that back and forth. I'm in my character, I'm outside of my character. I'm in my character, outside of my character. And I think some people have a difficulty be outside or making a decision to be inside. There is no flowing back and forth. And there's some games like Fate and the Forged in the Dark games that are like my character's doing this, but also the game says I'm stepping out, and as a director, I'm directing the actor, which is my character, to do this other thing. Like in Blades in the Dark, you engage in your vices to recover your stress, but no one would willingly say, I want to engage in my vices. It's no, you're the director going, my character's making a pretty bad decision to do this thing, but I'm going to make that decision anyway, right? Because the game tells me to do that thing to make my character better. Drew says, no, I prefer GM-less play. There's a GM-less game that I just heard called Nomad Un Unbound. Seems kind of cool. And thus the onus is on the players to describe their characters in a manner that lets everybody understand what they are doing. He shines says to GM. There's a growing GM-less indie games, solo games, and GM-less games are really on the come up. Drew, I don't have a lot of those, but I am impressed with games that are like, or people that are playing games solo wise, and or I guess duo games where 2 people are making a come up as well. Never played a game without a GM. Are we playing the same game? There are a Fiasco is an older indie game that has no GM. Microscope is another one. Dialect is a third one I can think of that doesn't have a GM. I want to get this game, Nomad Unbound, that has no GM. Yeah, yeah, yeah. These are real games. They're. Let me see if I can see see if I can find it. Mind's Vision, Nomad Unbound, and then we'll get out of here. I'm not going to sign up for it yet. Let's see if I can share this out. There's supposed to be a. There is supposed to be a. Let's see. Quick play download. This is from Brazil. A diceless narrative game about multiverses and multitudes. Let's see, is there audio playing? All right, I'm gonna turn. Okay, I got to turn the audio off. Okay, let's get rid of that, and let's see if we can get this. A solo and co-op narrative tabletop role playing game with a card-based system. Your fighting mechanic. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Fiasco. Yep. Great universe. Very cool. Mind's Vision. All right. Throw that back down here. Um, yeah, I think it's a game that uses playing cards with no GM, and everyone in the game is like lost in the multiverse, and you're like randomly creating the multiverse as the group of players kind of like nomads go across the multiverse themselves trying to get back home or find a way to get back home or something like that. And I think it uses chips and playing cards. See, right to the very see, there's minis, tokens, there's playing cards, there's books. Um, Dave Thalmavor just did a review of this game, and then I looked up some other people that did it. Unbound Doomed Souls, getting acquainted with the unreality. I think it's a free phase two, the Hollow Spawn. Cool, 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 cool. Hmm. Anyway, but there are a number of uh store. What's in the store? Sorry, one more thing. See, in the store, place to call home before the end, and other games that they've come up with. Okay, cool, 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 cool. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Oh yeah, GMM. Yeah, there are some GM emulators to play the traditional games without a GM as well. I think isn't the biggest one Mythic, something Mythic, um, Mythic GM emulator images. There we go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Mythic GM emulator, I think, is one of the biggest ones. So, yeah. All right, guys, have a great one. See you later. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fiasco stuff like that. I'll have to do a review of a bunch of these GM list games because that's another like staple of the gaming community where it's like no GM, no game master, no dungeon master. That's weird. And so I love a lot of these like like taking what we think is normal and just going like, nah, let's get rid of it. Hey, Rickard. Hey, all right, guys. Been wow, an hour 20 minutes. Guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. Uh, I never know where we're going with these things, so I kind of love it. So, and good to have you back there. Been here quite a bit, and it's such. So yeah, and also this idea of immersion, right? Like I love bringing these things up because maybe sometimes we don't realize that our way of doing a thing might be different, or maybe something we're doing consciously or subconsciously in the game, or why something triggers us in the game and go, oh, I know why. Every time players do this, it rubs me the wrong way. Why is it rubbing me the wrong way? Oh, that's right, because I really want to be involved in this part of the game, and the people that I'm playing with, that's not their desire. Or maybe the game itself makes a hard left turn away from a thing that I really want to delve into, or it doesn't reward us, or something like that. Yeah, yeah. Took the plunge, took the shit. Yeah, it's all gone. Yeah, it's all well. Listen, listen. The parking spots have started to disappear. There's a whole lot of gaps up here. So yeah, had to make the difference, make the change. So I appreciate that. So anyway, guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. And we can get a little deeper when it comes to our tabletop role playing game. So why not? Why not take that opportunity? So anyway, guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for people who have found this channel. Really surprising. And if you guys have some topics or ideas or what have you, I really apologize to the individual who brought up this subject, but why the hell not? I will find. I don't know why my YouTube studio isn't. Oh, thanks. I really appreciate it. Yeah, you could really see the grays are coming in. Not coming in. They're already there. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. Have a great one. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace, tranquility.